Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how to get the starter motor off of the 109 and, well, applies to the 108 as well, the 4.5 and obviously the other 6-cylinder models. I haven't actually taken a starter motor off of my 6-cylinder yet, but the 4.5 I did, and this one I just took off, the 109, the 6.3, and it's a little tricky. Couple of things I wanted to touch on. Let me get the starter motor and I'll show you. So here's the starter motor here, and it's orientated this way round, okay, and so your head's down here and you can get to this nut here, no problem, 19mm nut, grounding strap attached. But it's this guy up the top here, there's just no real way of getting to it, but it is actually a bolt that goes through the housing into a threaded flange of the starter motor. Now you can't get a ratchet or a socket up there, so what you have to do is the transmission is along here, you see, and the body of the transmission is pretty close, but what you can do is get a 19mm socket and a very long extension bar, and you have to kind of assemble them and slip them along, and then reaching right behind there you can get that on the nut. Now what I put is a pivot one right at the end there because it's a little off angle, and you can, with this really long setup, undo it. You'll see when you're under there, but you do need a long extension bar to get right in there. So that works pretty good. It took me a few minutes just to essentially assemble this as I went, put the ratchet on, and boom boom boom. So that's that. Now I spoke to Pierre, our good friend Pierre, and I told him I was going to pull the starter motor off and have it rebuilt and everything, but what I noticed when I was under there, the main power cable in here has broke off of the solenoid here, and you can see why. When you're under there, this starter motor sits right next to the passenger side exhaust headers, and so you can imagine this thing is just, I mean, it's pretty close. It's kind of this distance. So this starter motor is getting totally cooked. And this is like a hard plastic. The heat and cold cycles is just going to shatter, and then vibrations and that, and it just broke free. So obviously this needs attending to. Maybe you guys can help me. I don't know whether this is available, this part as a bolt on, and then I'll just get the starter motor rebuilt. Seems to spin okay, bearings feel alright. I'm assuming I can just get a new top unit here, get all that rebuilt. Now once you've undone it, it's still very tight in there to drop this down. So you undo it and you try and drop it down and it wedges. You've got the drag link, the steering shock absorber under there, and also the pivot point where the idler arm connects, and then there's this metal shroud around the idle arm. I took that off because it was catching on this guy. That's just a 10mm nut and bolt. Took that off, slipped that off. Plus, on the transmission side, I disconnected the transmission cooling line that goes to the front of the car and just slipped it out of the way, just pushed it out of the way, and then turned the steering slightly to the left, and that enabled me with a little wiggling around to get it out. It's a heavy unit, so be careful, don't drop it on your face. And so starter motor. Now I wanted to touch upon the last video I spoke about was the wishbones and lubrication of those joints, and I want to show you an example. Okay, hopefully you can see this. Turn the steering a bit. This is the passenger side, this is the upper wishbone, and an area like we talked about in the last video gets neglected. Those Zerk fittings that are on all 4 points, they get ignored, and obviously it adds to the wear, and in the worst case scenario you get a snap wishbone. So, but check this out, I hope you can see it. I think you can in the video, but watch, I've lifted the car slightly with the jack over there, so it's taken the weight. So watch this beam here. You can see there's a massive amount of play there. You put your finger in there, you can feel it. It's rocking and rolling all over the place. And the bottom one as well. Very bad. So obviously Another reason I'm dropping the whole subframe unit is to go in there, replace those kingpins that go right the way through. Check it all. I'll be checking in with you guys and get some advice and tips on that once I drop the subframe. Very good example of neglected lubrication. Something that a lot of us will neglect over the years because you just can't remember everything. But maybe keep a book on all your maintenance. So again, so that's good to find stuff like that. And I think that's it really. The starter motor is off, and that will be off to the menders. One more thing before I go today. As you saw on the Facebook group, Mercedes Maintenance and Rescue, I posted my goings on with the rocker here, and some of you who've tried to track down rockers for the 108, 109 chassis have probably come up with a big blank. I found one place in Germany, MB Classics DE, it's in Germany. They sell the SE models, the short wheelbase ones, for I think $350 a side. And so with shipping them, you're scraping $1,000 once it gets shipped to the States. So, but my rockers, I don't need the whole section. I've got the typical rust areas on all four corners. The two front ones particularly bad. Probably going in as far as 12 inches, maybe as much as 20 inches on this side till you reach good solid metal. I've cut back there. I'm going to cover this in a future video about what I've done, but I've cut back. The rest of the rocker's fine. So what I wanted to talk to you about is the patch panels that I made. I made this one. It's pretty straightforward, and I can show you how I built the form the 90-degree angle and the slight curve that hits just before the lower trim section, just under the door. I thought that would make a good join area. This one was just a kind of a little practice run, but it's come out well. It's a nice profile. It matches really good. 18 gauge steel, and what I do have to do now is make the cut to follow the angle at the front and flange the front. That I will cover in the video. That's for next time. So patch panels could save some money, you know. And if any of you are interested, you could build your own form, or maybe when I get a few minutes, once the form's built, it's pretty straightforward to make these. Maybe I can make a few for you guys if you need them. So alright, well, I hope you like this little video about the starter motor removal. It's always a bit of a pain to get to, but you get the car jacked up on ramps. I do it to get that extra height, and also for safety I have also a jack under there as well. I'm real paranoid. Make sure you're really safe under there because it's a bit spooky. Those of you who've got ramps and lifts and stuff like that, and the job's a lot easier. But you do have to turn the steering just a little bit to enable to drop that starter out. And one other thing before I go, what I'm thinking about, instead of just getting it rebuilt and slinging it back in again, is I'm out of some sheet metal, manufacturing a heat shield that utilizes the mounting bolts and protects the starter motor from that exhaust header, because it seems silly to just put it back in and it will just get cooked again. You know, make a curve, make it look nice, and paint it with some heat-proof paint or something and stick that back in. So that's a project I'm going to do. So that's it, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.